Hi, everyone. This is Heather Hodges. I'm an organizational psychologist. Welcome to my show. This is the place where we say I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. Today, I'm joined by someone who embodies the power of presence and the practice of deep listening. Jon Mullican is the founder of the Mullican Leadership Group, where he helps emerging leaders become calm, connected, and confident. And these are three qualities that feel increasingly rare and deeply needed. Jon's path has taken him from the US Naval Academy to serving as a nuclear power officer on the USS Abraham Lincoln, through a decade in corporate America, and into senior leadership roles in churches and nonprofits. And throughout that journey, one thread has remained constant: his belief that great leadership starts with paying attention, truly listening to the people around us. And Jon brings both wisdom and humility to that work, using his own experience as a lighthouse for others while creating the environments where leaders can grow, steady themselves, and learn to guide their own teams toward exceptional performance. I'm excited to explore with him today the role of deep listening, not only in leading others, but also in understanding ourselves as humans. Jon, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Heather. Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you today.
Yeah. So you want to hear something really interesting. So you and I have known each other 23 years, so
Yes.
almost a quarter of a century. And today we're talking about deep listening. But did you know that the day I met you, I couldn't hear you? Yeah, you probably don't remember the story. I remember it because I had just had Elijah. So we I have two sons. We have Caleb and Elijah, who you know. You were there.
Yes.
And Elijah was a newborn, and somewhere along the way, I had picked up just a bad cold, and I could not hear out of both ears. And it was so hard as a new mom to even hear my kids crying and then directionally figure out where, who was crying and where's it coming from? What's going on? So it was so dangerous. But it was during that time that I met you, I met Jeannie Hornsby, some of just the precious people in our world. But I was thinking about that today, like, okay, we're talking about deep listening. And the first time I met this man, I couldn't hear him.
Well,
so
I could hear you, and I remember that, really well. It was fun, and I guess that was not in Washington, but back when you made it to Tulsa, right?
It was. It was such a fun time of life, getting to meet you. And back then, your kids were young, and we were just starting our family, and so it's been just a remarkable journey, and I've learned so much from you over the years. And one of the things that has always struck me about you is your calming presence, and that in every room you're in, you're the least anxious presence there, and you bring just a peacefulness about you. And I wonder if it has anything to do with this superpower of yours of listening.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I definitely like to observe and watch more than jump into a conversation or engage before I've done a bit of observing. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it looks like I'm analyzing people, and I've been given that feedback. You look like you're up in your head and you're not really with us, but you're kind of analyzing us. But I do like to listen. And what's interesting about this kind of it's a newly born desire to be a listening evangelist, to get more people to thinking about how can I listen better. It's new, and so I don't like talking about it. I'd rather people practice it. So when I do this work with folks, we move pretty quickly into practice. And so at the same time, you have to talk about it at some level in order to engage people about listening. But it's true that I'd really rather listen to somebody than talk. It kind of comes easier to me, and it would come easier to people who are a bit quieter to cultivate listening potentially. I haven't done any research on it. I think my sense is though that introverts have an easier time listening than extroverts. I could be wrong, but my sense is that's the case. Yeah, just makes.
No, that would make sense. I mean, there's several things about what you just said that I just love. The listening evangelist. Okay, yay, that's fantastic. Yeah. But you may be right about the introversion, extroversion. Extroverts often they have a need to fill space, whether that's intentional or not. And so that may get in the way of listening. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you may be onto something.
Well, and people who think out loud, who process out loud, are talking. And the fact of the human experience is you cannot talk and listen at the same time. It's not possible. There may be some rare birds out there who could give a speech and somebody push something into their ear and they could hear it and remember it well. But they're exceedingly rare. Mm-hmm. You have to close your mouth to be able to listen. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating. We really don't think about that too much. Mm-hmm. You can catch a word or two maybe as you're talking, but for the most part, you can't do it. So I struggle with people who don't know how to be quiet. I mean, I do, to be honest. It's hard for me. Mm-hmm. And I work really hard to listen to them well. And yet, at some point, stopping, taking a breath, and them listening is helpful. Mm-hmm. It's just helpful. And when you have two people who are choosing to listen to one another attentively, you've got something happening there that's pretty spiritual, really. Two human beings connecting that way. And I'll tell you a bit more about that later, but there's a term I'll share that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
All right. It's interesting culturally as well. So I grew up a third culture kid. Mm-hmm. I did not grow up in, part of my upbringing was in the U.S. and I was also raised in other cultures. And every culture does it a little differently. I think every family culture does it differently. Every organizational church culture does it differently. But how we communicate and how we listen, and some cultures talk over each other, and it seems appropriate. In other cultures, there has to be a complete sentence. There has to be a punctuation mark, a small pause, and then you may speak. And other cultures, there's a long pause before the next person speaks. But what I hear you saying is you cannot fully deeply listen to what the other person is saying unless you do have that punctuation mark, and then you may speak.
Yes, and so what people may notice even as we're talking is I'm going to wait a little bit before I start talking when you post something to make sure you're done. And that may be a bit unusual for people, right? There's silence here. And we are really not good with silence. Silence, mm-hmm. a lot of people struggle with. But in Japanese culture, to your point, it's typically 8 seconds between when someone finishes speaking and the next person begins to talk. Literally, average 8 wow. seconds. Mm-hmm. And so you could imagine what that would be like if we actually slow down, which that would be for us slowing down. In the U.S., mm-hmm. we would be slowing down to wait 8 seconds between the times that people speak. And then what happens in that 8 seconds? What's going on with me? Am I losing track of what's happened and what's being said, or am I able to maintain what's going on? But yes, if we can not overtalk. So when I'm with a group and facilitating a group, and mm-hmm. there's a lot of over talking, it's excitement or it's anxiety or both. Mm. Over talking one another is an anxious. It says there's anxiety in the room. It could be excitement or anxiety born as excitement, which is fine. We're going to have a party. What are we going to do? We're all talking about it. But when there's a little tension and people are over talking one another, it's like, okay. And so that's why I try to show up more calm so that people can slow down and follow my facilitation, which is to be calm and quiet for at least a little while. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. If I waited 8 seconds after everyone spoke, I would put my foot in my mouth less often.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not purporting to think that would be necessarily helpful to us, but it is an interesting thing. And there are some families where there's never a silent moment between anything, and that's cultural, and that's not wrong. But it would be so. In today's world where we're watching things and watching interactions with one another, and we're so polarized and we're so uptight about things, silence can be helpful. Slowing down. So one of the things I'm hoping for is that by being a listening evangelist, I can help people learn to listen so that we can get along better. I mean, the end goal would be that if I'm listening to you well, then I'll understand you more fully, I'll be engaged with you more deeply, and therefore the chance of me, not being able to understand you and then feed that back to you and then have some sort of mutual ground that we can stand on rather than being on opposite sides of a red line that we've drawn. That would be my hope.
I love that because that's one of my goals too. I just come at it from a different perspective, but you're evangelizing me as a better listener, but just having more compassion on other people. That's one of my goals. And if you're listening to them deeply and leaving space to hear completely and understand more thoroughly, then we should have more compassion for each other.
I would think so. I mean, again, I am not a researcher. I do, though, delve into things fully. I'm not a data guy as much as I am a concept guy, and understanding concepts and recognizing, to me, for example, for a leader, to try to be a good leader without listening is like trying to bake without flour. I mean, you just, or have a garden without any soil. I mean, I know there are hydroponics, but you can't be a good leader. You can't be the best leader possible that you can be if you're not listening well to people around you. And so, I imagine one of the places I think the listening piece could be really helpful is the one-on-one meetings that are so ubiquitous in our world. So these one-on-ones that, managers have with their direct reports, and they have 7 to 8 direct reports or 5 or whatever. It's typically 30 minutes to an hour. And if that event were a place where a direct report knew coming in that she or he were going to be listened to very well by their manager, like they were going to be heard. They're not leaving. They're doing great work. They're going to do everything they can to make that leader look good. I mean, it just multiplies massively. And listening is really hard to do. It's really hard. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It may be, I think it's way more complex than we really give it credit for. And so when somebody does it well, we know. We can, we see, we're like, man, that person can really, they heard everything I said. They were with me that whole time. Wow. Well, I would hope that those wows would go down because people would just get better at listening overall, and we wouldn't have to wow about it, right? But that's a long time. That's a long way away.
Yeah, but that person that does listen really well, they get a reputation for it. People say, wow, they're such a great listener. Or, man, that was my favorite supervisor ever. They always listened to me. And it's a valuable trait. But to your point, it's hard. So the next part of our conversation is I'd love for you to train us on that. Like, how do we become a better listener? I think some people think they're a good listener, but the people around them may not think that as much. Right.
And so, to get feedback on it would be helpful. The thing that I think is most important for somebody who said, wow, I want to be a better listener, then to me, the first thing you have to do is make a move away from your own needs and toward the other. So when let's say you have a 10-minute meeting with somebody, it's on your calendar and it's coming. It's something. Let's say that your direct report isn't quite getting what you want them to get, or you're not understanding what they're doing, but it's important. So you have a 10-minute meeting. Then before the meeting, right? Before you just rush right into that zone, and if it's 10 minutes or 30, whatever, you need to slow down and begin to prep to listen. How many of us prep to listen? So I'm going to ask you a question. Who would you let's say your calendar gets clear. There's a clear spot for your calendar next June, because I know you've got a full calendar. So next June, you have this full calendar, and you can be with someone for the morning that you're like, I would do anything to be with that person for the morning so that I could listen to them. Who would that be?
This is a living human?
Yes. Somebody who's you can be with. Knee to knee, face to face. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The first name that came to my mind was David Hutchins, who's the storytelling guy.
I know who that
you know
is.
Dave.
I know who that is. Storyman. Yeah. So when you get there, you will have thought about a lot, and you will have paid a lot of attention to what that time is going to be like, and you're going to be zoned in. You're going to be locked in. Okay. So Avi Kluger is a Hebrew University listening researcher. He does research in listening. He's just retired. But his definition of listening is devotion to being with the other. It's not devotion to the other. Devotion to being with them. That's listening. So he doesn't put any adjective on it. He doesn't call it deep listening. He doesn't call it compassionate listening, active listening, focused listening, whatever. He calls it listening. Devotion to being with the other. So my sense is you would be devoted to being with Dave Hutchins that morning in June. And so if you can be that to whomever is in front of you, you win the listening game, and you actually absolutely influence them and yourself more fully than almost anything else you can do. I mean, and Scott Peck says it's the greatest gift you can give to somebody is to listen to them. He says that in The Road Less Traveled in the first couple of pages. And it's absolutely true, and we all know it. We all know it. When we come away from a session where we've been heard, or we've given ourselves to somebody else to let them be heard, it's a deep move. And it's hard to do. It's really hard. So I love that definition. There are other definitions. Listening is an active, conscious process of attending to, interpreting, and understanding verbal and nonverbal messages. Well, okay. I read that off. I don't memorize that. But it's easy to remember devotion to being with the other. So Avi Kluger is a hero for me. It's fantastic.
How do you spell that?
Kluger, Kluger, Avi, A-V-I.
Okay.
He's got a TED Talk out there that's good. I've listened to that. That's really good. Anything by him though, and he's got a protege, Ichikov. I'll think of it. Ira, maybe Ichikov. I think it's funny spelling, but if you find Avi, you'll find his protege, and those people are just doing fantastic work. Another woman, Tiffany Kriz, Kriz, who's in Canada, is one who pointed me to Avi, and she does great work at a Canadian university. But they would say that what listening, because we don't teach listening very much, right? We teach speaking. There's a speech class for everybody coming through, but there is no listening class. But the teaching of listening, those researchers would say is off the mark. Wow. It's not working. And so, even the models aren't great. But I just, when I'm working with people who want to learn how to listen, I start with that phrase. Another way you could say it, some people think the word devotion feels a bit religious. I am religious, but I don't see it that way, but other people do. And so, seeking to understand, you could move over to Covey and, seeking to understand before you're understood. That's another good move to make. But when you're listening, you're giving yourself away. And of course, if you're really listening, then you're not just listening and flat and saying nothing. You're engaging with people. You're engaging with them as you listen. You're watching their body. You can tell if they're, if they start crying, you should notice that. If they're smiling or if they're frowning. Yes. But it's an interaction for sure. But typically one person is more apt to be the listener and the other one the sharer, at least for the period of time that that's appropriate. So so you're giving yourself away, and it takes a lot of energy, attention, presence, listening. It takes a lot of energy, and so you shouldn't think that you're going to walk into that and necessarily walk out with boundless energy, although it can be exciting. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a therapist to be able to listen well. I mean, you don't. But therapists have a leg up for sure.
You know, the word devotion, I too am a person of faith, but that word, what is it from Greece? I'm hopelessly devoted to you.
Yeah, right.
You know, we could be devoted to another person or to an ideal. And so I think that word can cross that line. I think it's appropriate entirely. And one of the things that's coming to my mind is what gets in our way? What are those barriers? Like, you know, to your example, if I was going to spend a morning in June with Dave Hutchins, I would clear my calendar. I would turn my phone off. I would let people know where I was and not to bother me, because I want to be fully present to listen and to learn and to be inspired and to find my stories, which is probably what Dave would do.
Right.
So when we approach a meeting like that, or just any kind of a listening encounter, if we're not prepared, to your point earlier, if we haven't set our intentions, we come in with all of that stuff. You know, our phone and our calendar and interruptions and, you know, our cognitive load. How do we then, Jon, set all of that aside and overcome some of those barriers day to day when I don't have that prep time in advance?
Yeah, so when Avi gets asked that kind of question, he usually turns and basically says, let's talk about what makes a good listener versus what makes a poor one. However, I've used a little moniker. You said you wanted to clear your calendar. So if you think CLEAR, then you clear. The first word is clear your mind. So that's the C. Clear your mind. However it is that you clear your mind as best you can. So one of the things that a group I work with does is they make sure that they start any meeting with a bit of silence in order to give people a chance to show up and be clear, so that they're not jumping right in and diving in without having left the meeting they were in before to be at this one, for example. So clear your mind. L, limit distractions, right? Which makes a bit of sense. But truly, if you want to listen to somebody, the screen needs to go off. Whatever screen is in your eyes shot, it needs to go off.
Yeah.
So listening in a pub or listening in a restaurant can be really hard. So if you really want to have a good listening session, you need to find a place where you if you can, that limits distractions. Close the door, turn off your phone, take off your watch because it's going to buzz you. Whatever. Limit distractions. And then here's the one that people are most intrigued by typically is the E. Expect an exceptional encounter. So if if you're dreading a meeting with somebody and you need to listen to them well, but you're dreading it because it's going to be contentious or it might be tense or conflicted, just expect an exceptional encounter with this person. And know that they're going to be brilliant, because when you do listen to them well, they become more articulate. They become clearer about what they need to say. And if you think about it, that makes sense. If somebody is over at their desk and we're talking to them and we're trying to have a meeting with them and they're fiddling away and they've got their back turned, if they're not paying attention to you can't say what you need to say very well. You might be able to get it out, but it won't be as clear and clean as it could be if they were paying full attention. So we give to the other and they get more eloquent. They get sharper and cleaner and clearer. And for them, their thinking also gets clearer because you're listening so well. So expect an exceptional experience or an encounter is pretty interesting. The A is allow time for silence, which means allow time for yourself to be in silence, because the absence of the silence gets you ready to hear them and to listen to them. And then remember your purpose as a listener, devotion to being with the other. So clear, the R is just remember your purpose. To me, the purpose of a listener is to be devoted to being with, not devoted to them. So don't think that whatever they're saying you have to agree with. And a good listener doesn't necessarily agree with what they're hearing. You don't have to do that. But to hear them well is to remember that you're devoted to being with them. You're just with them. So that limits then, when I've used this with people, I don't tell them how to listen. I have them prepare to listen. How you listen is yours. You listen the way you know best to listen. For example, neurodiversity. If you're speaking to somebody who's on the autism spectrum and they want to listen to you, they may have to fidget, they may have to fool, they may have to do something that might be a little off for you, but it's great for them. So okay, fine. And they may not be able to see, make eye contact with you if you're talking to them, because that's not what is comfortable for them. But truly, then the eyes matter once you're into the conversation. Give the person your eyes. If you give them your eyes, not in a dead stare, not in a flat, blinkless, ogling, but just.
Yeah, don't be creepy.
Right. Don't be creepy is exactly right. So clear, CLAR, clear your mind, limit distractions, expect an exceptional encounter, allow time for silence. If you're a religious person, ask God to bless the moment, would be the A. And then remember to be devoted to being with them. Yeah, that's the way to get a good start.
Yeah. Wow. That is such an impactful framework.
It's, you could do your own. You can make, I thought about, what would listen, LIST, it didn't work. So clear made sense. So, somebody else could make one that's even better, I'm sure. It's just what I use, and I teach it so that people can get into the listening game. It's not hard. And so truly, if you're limiting distractions and you're clearing your mind, then the thing that will often keep people from listening well is what's going on in their own head. Almost always. How do I keep from thinking about my grocery list once more, or that I've got the next meeting is, over across town, am I going to make it in traffic, whatever. But when you're in the game with them and you're devoted to listening to them, it's a whole new ballgame.
Wow.
For them and for you. Yeah.
Say more about that. I'm curious. You've been on this journey for a while now to become a listening evangelist. What have you learned about yourself, or what wisdom have you gleaned from this experience?
Well, it's interesting because 5 years ago I had a surgery that took away one side of my hearing. I cannot hear on this side. I was on this path before that happened to me. So it wasn't because of that that I've gotten on this path, but before that. So it's ironic that I don't have any directional hearing. I can't tell where things are coming from. So I've learned that the atmosphere that we create for listening is really up to us. Going into restaurants, man, it's hard to listen because I can't very well. So I have to know where I can, if I want to really listen to somebody, I'll probably just go into their home to listen best. If it's good out in the economy, then Starbucks is kind of out. You got to go to the patio. Maybe you can do it there, but where to listen is what really has become the most critical thing for me. And when I'm facilitating, I have to tell people, when you're on this side of me, I can't hear you, so I'm not ignoring you, but you've got to either raise your hand or touch me or something to tell me you're wanting to talk to me, because I just won't hear it as easily. But what I have learned is that there are rare people who really have paid attention on how to listen. And as much time as people who are professional speakers take to hone their craft, it takes at least that much time, I would say, to hone the listening skill. And the payoff is absolutely worth it. It is worth every moment. To me, it is. Because you're giving back, you're giving something to people that's rare. I mean, it's really rare, unfortunately. And hopefully it'll be less rare, right? That would be my hope.
I'm thinking, even from childhood, we have wanted to be listened to. And I think of little kids and that gift of maybe a grandparent who got on your level and just was eye to eye and excited about everything you had to say to them or show them. And I think we've wanted this, we've longed for this since we were little bitty. And unfortunately, to your point, we haven't done it so great. And it's when we find somebody who does listen fully, deeply, attentively, devotedly. It's so rare.
It is rare, and the world for for a very long time has been moving away from encouraging us to listen or be able to listen, because our attention is divided massively. I mean, really, taking off your watch is an important aspect of being a good listener. If it's a buzzer, or turning off the buzz or whatever, anything that can distract me, because when you look over somebody's shoulder, they can tell. When you're engaged, your eyes are locked in. If you're looking over there, unless you're getting ready to say something, which we do, of course, but when your eyes are on them and you're holding them, there with your eyes, that tells me you're really paying attention to me. You're in the game with me, and that matters.
Yeah.
And you can't do it forever. You need to be mindful that you can listen for short amounts of time. Probably the most you could really, really do deep listening for is 25, 30 minutes. And you should ask for a break. I mean, don't be afraid to say, wow, I really enjoyed listening to you. Can we take a break? Or I need to go to the restroom, or I need a little bit of a moment to regroup if we got to keep going. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the leader who has direct reports, if you ask people, who was your best leader, they often will say this person who, and they will be a good listener. Whether they thought or realized that they were a good listener or not, that's usually true, that they were able to listen well to what their direct report was saying.
Yeah. Wow. For leaders who are listening to this podcast today, and we have a lot of leaders, I think the audience is mostly supervisors, leaders, or aspiring leaders. For those who want to start practicing this listening today, what would you tell them? What's one shift that they can make in their very next conversation to get better at this?
Well, you could certainly, I think just taking 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes to prepare to listen is key. If you, I think that just preparing to listen, recognizing I'm getting ready to have a conversation with somebody that's important to me, or they're important to me, and even if they're not, frankly, but just if you're getting ready to have a conversation with somebody, then say, I want to prepare, so I'm going to clear my mind. I'm going to find the best place to have this conversation so I can pay attention. I'm going to expect this person to be amazing in what they say. I'm going to be quiet for a moment here, and then I'm going to remember to be devoted to being with them. And you do that and see how it goes. And then don't ask immediately, hey, how good of a listener was I that time? Don't go there yet. But to eventually ask your direct reports, am I hearing you? When do I hear you best? So I like the appreciative question, not what's wrong with my listening, but rather, when have I listened to you best? Oh, it was when my mom died, and oh, okay, right? That makes some sense. That's a very critical moment when you've got to pay a lot of attention to what happened. It's the small things, and looking them in the eye is a pretty important thing to do. And if you're not used to doing that, if you're not used to meeting people's eye, you try that. Stay with their eyes, and let them know you're there. I met a minister I hadn't met before the other day, and he looked into my eyes for a good 5 seconds. And I looked back. We didn't say anything. We were shaking hands, but it was a moment, right? It's a moment when you're looking at people. So I think if in the regular circumstance of being with people that don't have a disability or a difference or something like that, looking them in the eye can be really helpful, and then preparing to listen to them. That would be very different, I think. I don't know a lot of people who, I prepared to listen, except for those situations where I asked you about the situation with Dave. You would prepare to listen to Dave. Well, I want to prepare to listen. Now, I'll quickly admit and confess that the place I listen worst is right here in my own home.
Ouch.
And my friends who, Karen might be saying, well, okay, John, but you're a listener all the time. You're listening all the time. So when you come home, you just want to break. Like, yeah, but that ain't, I can't say that on the weekends. So when it happens on the weekends, I don't get an out. And I think they're familiar. However, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter who, to your point earlier, said at one point to one of the adults in the room, "Thank you for putting down your phone." Literally thanked the person for putting down their phone. And it was, it wasn't like they were completely gone or anything, but it was interesting to hear her say it. And it was not prompted. She recognized that you're not paying attention to me if your face is in the screen.
Yeah.
And what's happening in the screen isn't nearly as important as what's happening out here. So, yeah, I think that's a quote from a guy well. So,
wow.
Yeah, I think the other thing would be to put away your screen. Put away your screens.
That's an easy step, but we don't often do it.
Pretty straightforward, but it's hard. Turn away from your computer, to turn off the TV, to have a conversation with the TV. I don't even know if you can call it that. I don't know if you call it a conversation. And like I said, it is hard to do, and it's also simple to start doing it. You can start doing it. You got plenty of places to practice, and so I do this in part because I need it. And I keep practicing, and I miss the mark enough, and so I want to keep getting better and better at it. But there's always, it's endless. Frankly, I think it's really endless.
Yeah. A while ago, you said that it's so worth it, and that it prompted me to think about some research that I have read on listening and clinicians. That primary care providers, healthcare providers, will interrupt patients after 18 seconds of the patient describing why they're there, what their symptoms are, or just in this conversation. So 18 seconds, the clinician will interrupt the patient. But the study found that if the clinician will listen for 11 seconds longer, their health outcomes improve dramatically because they get more information. But we don't do that. Clinicians are quick to jump in. Okay, let me just solve the problem for you, instead of pausing, letting them speak. And I was translating that into a leadership. It's part of the research of my old book, Heart Work, of if leaders will listen 11 seconds longer, they will learn so much more from their employees. So as we're thinking about this, John, what are some outcomes that we might expect if we do a better job of listening?
Yeah, it's pretty immense. It's the listening lever is a massive. I mean, it can move a lot. So it builds trust immediately and improves psychological safety for whoever it is you're around. It can improve decision making, because if you're listening to everyone, then you have a better chance of gaining access to all the information you need, or all the data and ideas that you need. It strengthens influence that I have on people. I mean, if you listen, they don't owe you anything necessarily, but they feel like, man, that mattered to me. That was really helpful. And so there's this feeling of, gratitude that comes from that. Certainly deepens emotional intelligence. And there is a study that shows that training on listening improves humility. Just training on it. Yeah, it's that to me was fascinating.
Wow.
That's fairly new. So they used some MBA students that they taught listening, and one of the things that came out from that was they were more humble. It can move conflict resolution along, and for a leader, it can multiply their impact. But it also actually does improve retention. When a leader is a listener, their retention goes up, engagement goes up, trust goes up, performance goes up, everything goes up that you want to go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I use the title, the greatest leadership skill rarely used is what I used to introduce the topic. And we do it all the time, right? We do it all the time, and yet we don't do it well. Mm-hmm. And we are so busy that we're divided, and so it's hard. It's getting harder. So to me, one of the things I think is true is if you're a really good listener, you will always be needed by someone. Yeah, AI isn't going to take away that. I mean, yes, AI can listen. AI can give you, if we were to get a feedback on this session, it would do a great summary. There's absolutely every that's true, but it can't replace this feeling that happens. And so there's a quote by a guy named David Augsburger, who is a Mennonite minister, and he says, being heard is so close to being loved that the average person can't tell the difference. They're indistinguishable. And so there's a term that's new, Kama Mutta. A lot of us know what Kama Sutra is, but Kama Mutta is being moved by love. And one of the first, and it's a feeling that you get when you're fully heard. There's, some of us, it's a tingle. Some of it's, we get this amazing, we just light up. That feeling comes most likely is introduced by being heard first. That being moved by love is initiated by being heard. Well, so that's the term I mentioned earlier. It's an interesting, and there's about 10 years of research on it, and it matters. When you're moved by being heard and moved in that way, then the world shifts. And so that's why I think listening is a key element to our well-being going forward. And it's harder and harder to do in our world that's so fractured. Yeah.
Like, who knows what kind, and I'm sure there's research on this, just the serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine are probably off the charts.
All the good chemicals in the brain are lighting up. And of course, the mutuality. So being a good listener and being renowned for that, except in my own house, is interesting because it's there aren't that many good listeners out there. There's but when you're heard, it's a different day. Because one of the things we'll go in and ask, okay, recall the time when you felt fully heard. And then I'll have to add to that after a little while. I'll say, if you've never felt fully heard, imagine what it would be like. Because some people have never felt fully heard.
Wow.
Especially at work. Especially at work.
Yeah.
So that's why I think in the workplace is a great place to try this out. You can try it at home too, for sure. Maybe you don't have to, like I do, but I think doing it at work would be amazing. And I don't think you have to do it for very long to get some feedback.
Yeah. Well, Jon, just the strategies and the wisdom that you have shared today is just so remarkable. And I could not be more delighted that this conversation is about to be in the world to help you continue your listening evangelism. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the chance to talk about listening, which again, is an oxymoron. It's ironic talking about listening, but if anybody on the podcast wants a good listener, they can give me a call and then give you a call. You've done a nice job today.
Well, thank
listening.
you.
Thank you.
But before I let you go,
okay,
I have a little research assistant over here who is just knocking at the door. Percy, the penguin, he's my trusty research assistant. He has a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
You ready? Percy, are you there? Come on in. All right. Thank you, Percy. Okay, Jon Mullican. Percy's first question comes from a previous guest, Dr. Denise Meyerson. She's the CEO of the Focus Learning Group out of Sydney, Australia. And she's also my Lego Serious Play guru. And she asked that, in light of Thanksgiving coming up, she wants to know, what have you been thankful for this year?
Well, I could name 1,000 things, frankly. Probably the thing I'm most thankful for is Dana and I celebrated 40 years of marriage this year in June.
Congratulations.
And, without that partnership, we wouldn't have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. We wouldn't be able to hold one another up through the hard times and celebrate the good. 40 years is a long time. And it's hard to believe that that's the case. But yeah, we were married in Oklahoma City in 1985, and here we are 40 years later. So we're looking for 40 more. We'll see how it goes.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations. And give Dana my love, please.
Yes, you bet.
Oh my gosh.
You. Yeah.
What a thing. Yeah, Wade and I are coming up. We're in year 30. So we just completed 29 years, and we're starting to go around for 30. So
good. Yeah, that's great.
Hopefully we'll make it to 40. if you'll give me one more day.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's been married almost 3 years, and she and her husband have agreed they're going to give it 65 and then see what happens after that.
Hey, that's a nice round number. Oh my gosh. Okay, Percy's second question is, what question would you like to ask a future guest?
Question. Yeah, that's, I think I would like to ask, what matters most to you? Yeah. I love open and kind of ambiguous, personal, anxiety-provoking questions. So what matters most to you?
I love that.
Those are my 3. Yes, that comes from Peter Block's work. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Oh wow, fantastic. Yeah, let's just go there. Like what matters the most? So that's like a values question, isn't it?
I can take it a lot of places.
Wherever you want to go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We shall find out.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, Jon, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, for listening to me. And teaching me how to be a better listener. I appreciate you so much. Where can our listeners find you?
Mullicanlead.com. Yeah, and it's a holding place. I mean, if you really want to talk, just throw me a note off of there. There's a way you can do that. Yeah, Jon M at mullicanlead.com is my email, so I'll welcome anybody. Yeah.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah,
Jon,
individual practitioner. So just hanging out here by myself.
Fantastic. Right. I love it. Yeah. Jon, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Heather. Appreciate you. Take care.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us in this conversation. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who could use a dose of inspiration and creativity. So until next time, keep saying I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.